So for this one, I have this idea of incorporating a piece that was done a long time ago, part of the generative study, and a bunch of sketches that came out of that. So there was a melodic one that should be right here somewhere. Let's see. Generative study, notes melodic. Yes. Of course, I'm staring right at it, but you know, they're all looking the same. Let's move this into the done pile. Cool, and let's just yank that down to some arbitrary length and let her rip. Let's turn that off and hit that. Cool. And it's about like I remember, like a pentatonic, generative pentatonic piece. Looks like we have just some arbitrary notes coming through, different sequences of them apparently. Although these two maybe, no, I think those are different. Almost the same. Let me get a handle on what is happening here. So we have notes coming out of the note source, being pulled into this track. Looks like we have some dummy clips here that have, I'm guessing, some kind of automation. Yeah, chord on every now and then. And this doesn't look like it's doing anything. Well, it is. It's pulling everything down an octave. Cool. Let's just get right into it. I'm gonna turn this off every now and then. Cool. Got a lot of automations happening through here. That's nice. And then from here, let's see, we've got this one is pulling from MIDI effects. Lots of automations. Wow, I mean, I guess looking at this, not much has changed in the last 5 to 6 to 7 years or whatever of what I've been doing anyway. Lots of egregious automations, way over the top, and that is a good thing. So if we want to change the notes playing, we can drop a scale in there. We could automate it to play +5 every now and then, which usually +7 and +5 sound pretty good off of whatever root chords and keys you have going on there. Let's do some -7s right here. And let me see what's going on in our effects section. Looks like we have... This is set to play into the master, but it looks like we have a bunch of effects right here. I'm trying to figure out why we're not hearing any sound out of this, and maybe it was because it was set to auto, or this effects gate is muted. Okay, muted. That makes sense. And then this compressor must be sidechaining, pulling from the muted instrument. Yeah, post effects. Sometimes it's a little hard to track down, you know, if you do set up a lot of these sidechain audition situations. It can be a bit of a pain trying to track down what is happening where. So it's an amazing tool, an amazing set of sounds and things can happen when you start routing sounds all over the place with this sidechain audition functionality. But it can also mean going back and trying to fix things or adjust things can be a bit of a pain. So it all just depends on like your tolerance, your stomach for that kind of squirreliness. Awesome. Let's try some different scales here. Let's see, maybe harmonic minor? What I'm doing here is I'm just listening to hear what any of these yellow dots, if they just sound bad, and then we can tweak on this. One idea I have is to move this. Where is that scale? We can move this into here, and we can pull from MIDI effects 1, and then this one can pull from MIDI effects 2, which we need to rename. Awesome. And let's see, we've got, let me look at the follow actions here. Looks like we have a set of various lengths for our follow action time. So let's just go ahead and borrow those. And cool, we'll have this kind of turning on and off at random. So we have a little scale switch just to add a little bit more jazz in there. Let's see, C major. What do we get when we have a little C major happening there? And I think I'm gonna delete this and just pull it down some. I don't think I want quite as much distortion. I'd rather it be kind of clean. Nice. And then if I turn this off, we could also duplicate this and you know, have a second scale track, and let's go ahead and delete the harmonic minor here and delete the C major here, and then we'll just route from this one can come from MIDI effects 2, and then this one will route from MIDI effects 3. So we're getting a different set of random for this C major scale being turned on and off. So, and the reason why we'd want to do that, because if we had both the scales on this track, as we were automating them with these playing, it's going to kind of happen, you know, these will turn on and off kind of at the same time, because they're both their automations are set within these clips. So that's somewhat static. So these being a different set of clips and randomizing at their own pace, different from these, we'll see this one turning on kind of independently on its own accord versus this one. So that's why you can split out these MIDI effects tracks as many as you want, as much as you have the stomach for. And of course we can just group this, and I think instead of muting this effects gate, we'll just have this go sends only. That's kind of how we've been doing it more recently. And that makes more sense to me in terms of trying to figure out what's happening down the road. And then, so we'll pull this from, it looks like it's, this is set to send only. We want it to go to group, and we want to set the group to send only. And I've been trying to put the effects kind of like right next to the group, right to left. Since this is pentatonic, kind of an Asian-y scale, let's have it go right to left. Cool. I mean, it's almost like its own piece that could play for, you know, 4 minutes or something, but certainly we can find some other things to put in with this. And I think for the heck's sake of it, I want to go ahead and open up our racks and just, looks like we've got some, let's pull in this effects rack. We'll drop it in our main folder here. There we go, and let's just hear what that sounds like. Very resonant, very almost dissonant compared to we could get in there and tune it. Yeah, I just needed one note up, actually. Not too bad. So let's try putting it in here, see what happens if we dump it there. And what is going on in this effects? I wonder if this affects, let's see, effects 1 is, let's just double check on the routing. This one is pulling from here, yep, and then this one should be pulling from effects 1, okay. It looks like we're not really getting any sound after effects 1. So I see what's going on here. I also have this muted. So we need to set this to send out. And set this one. This one is pulling from effects 1. Yeah, it needs to just pull straight from the... So we have things routing a little bit weirder in this one. And this being one of the early sketches that I was using these... I feel like I discovered this audition thing, which had been sitting right under my nose for years, but I think it was 2015 maybe? And really had no clue at first, like the full range of possibilities with that. All right, so let's just sort of fade this one on. Makes a really nice ambience. Cool. So now that these are all playing through, this is going to play back according to which clip and whatever I was just recording in what clip at what time. Awesome. Now I want to play around with the meaningful random pattern generator that we had created and messed with the last couple of sketches. That thing has definitely been piquing my interest quite a bit lately. But I want to play with the melodic side of it. So let's see here. I think it was this 12-step math program, which I, in some free time recently, was able to switch out this from a drum program, which means we can play any note into this we want. which obviously this needs to be tuned. It'd be great if we had another knob here where we could play with the tuning. And I think what I want to do for now is delete those. I also added an effects section in here, so we have like a reverb. Cool, and we just need to adjust our melody a little bit. And I was also able to figure out this meaningful random pattern generator, how to get these the sequencer steps in there, and so it would show how many steps, 1 to 16, as well as total beats. So that's been a nice little adjustment, improvement. Those notes don't work. Kind of matches up a little bit, for the most part. Cool. And I think since we don't have any of these things here, we could easily map our transpose, say, to, well, we're not using this flam one. We call this transpose. And maybe map some of these parameters here and put them over here instead. So let's take our total beats, yeah, and then sequencer steps, and we'll put that down here. Sequencer steps, total steps, or total, I guess, beats. Really, it's however many beats we want to play within these steps. So we have 16 steps set here, and this will play essentially 9 notes. So this will only play 3 notes out of 16. It still plays all 16, but that means, let's see, that 13 are silent and only 3 will sound. Cool, so we've got, let's see, velocity random. And let's just get a note in there. I've got this, you could just say this is a note smasher. Well, it turns everything into C3. I finally made this utility. In fact, I didn't push this up into my MIDI section here, which I should probably make a utilities subfolder under there, which, I mean, these are all kind of utilities if we think about it, but cool. So as long as we automate this, we'll get, so global probability, that at least is linked up there still. Velocity. Now, let's play with this transpose. I guess we need our clip playing, and we'll make it 10 steps there. I think I need to... There we go. So let's see, 5 down to 1. Wow, we get the whole 128 plus 128 minus 128. That is, or I guess it's only down to minus 36. Yeah, this stuff is going to get weird if we... Wow, this is sounding like really sweet 80s new age. And we can play with our probability. This, if we have this at 0, we're not going to hear anything come through. So I can automate this to stay kind of random, with a few occasions where we just get the notes just cutting out altogether. I think what I'm going to do here is, well, I want to try routing. We can do a parallel routing here. We'll pull this one from our 12-step sequencer. We'll just call this melody math for now. Sins only. And now it's pulling into here, melody math. And this is from FX1. So now we've got this melody math going into here. If we want to, we could group this, and we could just pull this over into here. And can we just drop it in there? Yes, we can. Okay, cool. So now it's running through FX1 and then FX2, which is kind of fun. Let's duplicate this, and we'll call this bass. Oops, I'm going to delete that. And let's pitch it down 12. Let's try minus 24 there. Well, masters only on this. Minus 12. Might be a little too murky at minus 24. It's very classic early 2000s kind of ambient IDM type of sound. A sound dear to my heart, that I listened to a lot of that kind of music back then and was really inspired by it. I think it is potentially probably what pushed me down into the void of ambient production. Down that road, I should say. I guess some serious resonance is happening through these It's kind of pretty. It's got some weird unpredictability to it. And if we had a little spread in here, could be interesting. I always forget where that is located. There should be a spread. Let's see, unify. Now, so many little parameters I'm actually super curious about, but want to spend time with those in more detail on my own. There's sketch time, and then there's research time. The research time, I feel like I have to vacillate between the two so I don't get too sick of doing one thing or the other. And then there's organization time. And that's usually, you know, putting everything in its place, renaming, you know, getting the plugins all sorted out. Yeah, I don't see a spread here. It's probably right under my nose. And that is okay, because we have plenty of other ways to spread our sound out. And I do like that the analog gives you this, you can have like a kind of sub section. We could dip that down. Add some nice low end. Give ourselves a little noise section there. Classic subtractive synth combination right there. And might as well drop this octaver in there. Every now and then have that sucker turn on. And it always sounds good when you automate the tail. Some short notes, some long notes, kind of varying between. And I do like the way the octaves sound jumping around on the analog. It's a very bendy kind of, they put some nice smoothing into the parameters. Let's hear what this thing sounds like way high up. I may want to pull this one out. I might want to actually move the effects from here back over to here, because I think there's too much happening now that I'm hearing it. Yeah, okay. Too much volume there. So if we pitch bend, first I want to see what is our pitch bend limit. It looks like 2. That's good. That's kind of what I was looking for. Although it doesn't really work with a lot of the notes in our scale. If we tune our scale some more, in fact, I can just duplicate this and turn that one off just to keep it as a copy. Yeah, the pitch up 2 is sometimes a little funky. Got that Hawaiian slide guitar sound now. Yeah, why not? Let's give a more even spread between these. It sounds like these 3 notes are the only ones that maybe work well with that scale. Yeah, too much slide. Yeah, it may only be this bend down that causes any problems. What if we bend down just 1 note? Alright, I guess for the sake of simplicity, we'll just leave the bend down. Get a couple of random jumps in there. And I want to do the same thing for one that is minus 12. We definitely want to put some effects on that. Not that I have a problem with a dry synth sound, but one of the things I really love, of course, about sketching is, yeah, I like this. Sketching is just kind of going nuts a little bit and pushing some limits. Speaking of limits, let me just make sure. Yeah, it looks like our mix of my voice and what's coming out of Ableton Volume is okay, hopefully. I don't hardly listen or like, I'll just jump through some of these videos after I record them just to make sure everything turned out okay. But I don't really pay attention. I like what's happening in this video. It's like almost like a landscape. That's super weird. Yeah. Cool. Let's automate this. Yeah, this would sound good on some vinyl. Little crackles. I almost want to throw some I always love throwing the crackles in there. It almost always makes me feel like I'm listening to a piece of music through headphones coming off of vinyl, and it's kind of a weird good feeling. And maybe it's just a nostalgic feeling. I think the first time I really listened to music was definitely coming off of some vinyl back in the mid 80s, and I believe it was Michael Jackson, Billie Jean, and I was over at a friend's house. It's like such a one of those really like blurry memories, you know, kind of like this video. But I went over to play with that friend. They lived up the street, and she always had vinyl. You know, these little 45s and stuff. And I guess back then that was pretty normal because, you know, the 70s was all about the vinyl. I guess 80s, you know, more about the tapes, but still 90s, the CDs. But yeah, just that crackle sound. I guess there's something really nostalgic about it, even though it is technically like bad quality. Yeah, this is one of those, just, you know, listen to this thing and drift away while you're, you know, floating in a boat in the middle of your room. All right. Yeah, I'm just getting lost in my mind. I'm like, where am I going in here? Instruments, audio sound generators, yes. Textures, yes. Crackle maker. And believe you me, I've made quite a few crackle effects over the years, and this one seems to be at least using only the Ableton effects, the one that comes the closest to having some sort of a vinyl-esque feel to it. I mean, this is really what it should sound like coming straight out of the crackle section. Unfortunately, the vinyl distortion sounds terrible. Usually the crackles sound pretty bad on their own. But with a little saturation, a little EQing, a lot of grain delaying, and who knows what else in between, some nutty EQing. I guess anything is possible at that point. Love. You know, I'm not a huge vinyl head currently. I know that's a big thing these days, and I totally love that it's made a resurgence, and I support anybody and everybody that's buying it. Any of my releases that are on vinyl, that's awesome. They are a pain in the butt to ship. To package and ship is just kind of a pain. I mean, it's a cool thing. I personally prefer the CD or the high-res digital still. I feel like you can get the most quality out of it that way for listening to very deep listening on headphones. I know plenty of people who disagree with me. I do think that vinyl does certain things to the high end and low end, so there is a somewhat warmer sound. Same with tapes. Tapes have, in my opinion, and I guess it depends on like the type of tape, it's a bit more hissy than vinyl, I feel like. And sometimes that's a good thing too. I guess it just depends on, you know, pick your poison. Let's have a look at melody math. Maybe not the most fitting name for this, but who really cares? When you're sketching, it's not about trying to come up with anything that's final. It's all about, in my opinion, just trying to have a good time, trying to push yourself a little bit to, you know, learn something. But honestly, if you end up coming up with sketches that sound like really good to you, that you feel that they should, you know, be further explored, like they just pique your interest, there's enough interesting shit happening in there that you want to keep going with it later on, there's no reason. In fact, I think most all artists start sketching and just like kind of expand on the ones that seem to have the best idea overall. I like this project here, this whole sketch exploration thing I'm doing, just because for me, one of the underlying tenets is nothing is serious. Nothing is supposed to be turned into anything. Like most of this stuff I would never consider releasing. It's just so different than what I normally do. It doesn't fit in really any of the other side projects or so I like that I can be completely detached from it and almost just doing this for the sake of sketching and not with any other intent, like it needs to be turned into an album, or I can remove myself from all that noise, that the business side or something that I spent so many years kind of not stuck in, but just spending way too much time in it, It's just the classic, probably, I'm just a classic burnout case right now. And this is your classic sort of vacation style project, really, I guess. So let me just turn this scale off and turn... So we can leave both scales on, to be honest. This scale is going to convert all the notes from this scale to fit this scale. So scaling or note compression or whatever you want to consider it is pretty awesome. So we could turn this off every now and then and get some of those. If I was to release this, the trick would be finding the good chunk section that has all the good stuff, I could be real purist about it and be like, no, you know what? I need to just hit record on the end and not move it over here at all. Just kind of have it be, we could also do things like I've done this before, where you stop it and you essentially just, on a PC it's Control-Shift-R, and you can just render straight out of the clip view. This is probably, everybody knows this, and I'm just, and you just render however many bars you want, and then once it's rendered out, load it up into something like SoundForge or Goldwave or Wavelab or whatever you use, even Reaper, or load it back up into Ableton, and then just find the good spot. Listen through the whole thing. That's a lot of work, but I believe there is some merit to that. Well, if it was too easy to make it, then it's just not. There's something not special. Like there has to be some blood, sweat, and tears put in there, in my opinion. I like the idea of creating songs in here. I don't know if the Off the Sky thing will ever become like that. It's such a more high-end, polished productional sound that it really has to be worked out in here. I am at some point getting this home vinyl lathe cut machine, which I think I'm going to experiment more with, just exporting stuff out this way from the clip view and trying to put these like one-off and super unique sounding pieces on there, because with a home lathe cutter, it essentially, each piece of vinyl that I'm going to cut can be a different piece, and that is a great opportunity to explore the whole generative idea that I've mentioned, of having each copy of each release be a different version or a different take, a different variation, a different iteration. I think that is a really neat idea that hasn't been explored too much. I'm sure plenty of others have. I know Marcin Jules, I've done some mastering for him. He put out, it was on a thumb drive, and that had generative pieces on each one. Although the form of generative he was working with was pretty loose, it was hard to really tell a ton of, there wasn't a whole lot of change or difference between each piece that I remember hearing. So you can make generative stuff almost undetectably generative and call it generative. I feel like there needs to be some something about it that the way you set up your effects or your randomness, that where you do hear a noticeable difference between each variation that you render out. I do feel like that's important. That's just my opinion, of course, and I would never impose that on anybody else, but when it comes to my own releases, I do believe they're all going to have something that makes them sound somewhat different. I do love Ableton 11 is going to have a feature, at least the follow actions will be able to play till the end of the clip and then move to the next follow action, which means, you know, you can just have a bunch of samples with arbitrary lengths, and at that point you can have all your arbitrary length samples play one after the next, and that is going to open up some generative, some ideas generatively that are going to be really some pretty deep stuff, I think. So we'll see, but this bass line is definitely doing some fun things, and we haven't even done any automation of the total beats and the which, if you automate this knob like this, you're going to get a lot more sparsity when we pull down to 1. See what we got here. It's looking pretty nice. Like a little mountain scene. We've got some plateaus, we've got some peaks. Really should get the speed here. I'm trying to think, what can we swap out here? And I'm thinking velocity. I kind of like it where it's at, so maybe I will unmap that. And just to show what I did here with the effects really quick before we go back into and now that I'm looking at it, I don't need all these. Before, when I had all the beats and stuff, I made, for each effects row here, I just had these gates with auditions from each of the kick, the snare, the hi-hat, and so we could easily pull the sounds from those into the effects chains. So this instrument rack does not have a return send feature like the drum rack does, and so this is the way I found to circumvent that shortcoming. Yeah, okay, cool. You're like, yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter. Never gonna use that sidechain audition thing. And that's fine. Hey, if I'm the only one in the world using it, that's cool. That means, you know, my shit's gonna be so much more original than blah, 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 blah. Who cares? It's all been done before. I swear there's no such thing as originality, only... That's why I like a lot of layers and stuff. I do think, like, sort of more orchestral. The more layers you have, probably the more original, at least the thing can sound somewhat tonally. Alright, so I think we need to remove the mapping from that. And I think it's just, yeah, there we go. Looks like we had some automation there anyway. That's cool. And so we will map the speed here. And what are we doing here automation-wise? Ah, that's why it's recording the whole time. I see, I see. I think we're getting some weird notes out of here simply because we are turning off this scale every now and then. Or wait, maybe those notes are coming from... It may have been one of these weird scales that we added in here, because we have these now, like, kind of turning on and off. If we want to just test something where we don't want to remove this automation here, but we want to hear this thing just turned off for a while, we can group it and just turn off the group. All kinds of little tricks. Gotta have lots of tricks up your sleeve. In my humble opinion, that makes for a better show, a better track, a better listen. I think the ultimate goal is to make your stuff interesting enough that people are going to want to hear it more than once, or at least listen to it all the way through once. This day and age, I'm like, that's even asking a lot from, you know. So if you can make it compelling enough and do a lot of unexpected twists and turns, you're probably doing it right, and you probably get some people who want to actually want to listen to it more than once. If it's pretty, it's, you know, probably easier for a lot of people to listen to more than once. It all just depends. Everyone's so different. You know, you can't really produce music trying to do a certain thing for whoever. It's kind of impossible. I'm gonna just have a listen to this. Let's flip up that length. Do like some reverse. It's a classic sound, straight out of like the original tape recording experimentation era. Although now that I'm hearing this, I'm kind of wishing we had this reverb. Happening after here, so we could just turn these off. I programmed these so that when we pull the volume down, it does shut off the effects. I think that's an important move, especially if you want to like use these in a live setting. You don't want to be having a million effects going all at the same time. That could just kill your computer, especially if you're going to have some twisted video, you know, during your live set. And you got to have some sick video. Otherwise, you're not taking it all the way, you know. All right, I'll shut up. Let's map this record. I guess that is the reverse. And I don't think it feeds into that unless we're automating that thing. Let's give it more buffer. Cool. And we'll just have that shut off and on so that it will feed the buffer. Feed your buffer. It's a good album title right there. Some silly electronic music. So, where was I going with? I wanted an echo. Yes. Almost forgot. Gosh, this echo really does sound so nice and old. Let's turn our crackle density down just a little bit. In fact, we should automate that. Honestly, we should automate everything. But if you notice when you're listening to a record, it's really kind of haphazardous. And unless your record's just destroyed and old, you're not going to hear that many pops. Yeah, so I like it down there somewhere. Wow, it's super space aged. Well, what if we pull this repitch off? It's usually a bit more granular at that point. The fade setting, in other words. And I do like that. So yeah, let's automate that. Right. We're getting close to done. I mean, honestly... you know, we could always play with like some kind of hip hop style, you know, silly beat. I'm just pulling hip hop silly beat out of my ass. Or I could hear it groove, like, you know, kind of a locked groove type of beat, but honestly, there's nothing wrong with experimenting and trying it out. So we could let's drop in our 12-step program. But I'm going to, for this one, I'm going to kill the effects. I'm going to kill everything but the 3 percussion instruments. And let's pull down the. Oh, I guess I have. Total steps there. I'm gonna slow things down quite a bit. I'm just curious, you know, what we might be able to pull out of this. Yeah, let's get our hi-hat. And maybe we'll groove it out a little bit. Let's definitely get some effects in there. Oh, I want to hear this dynamic tube. This is not a bad sounding. You can definitely transform some sounds, really like squash some sounds. Yeah, 2 in a row. Why not? Could be a little egregious, but. So yeah, the hi-hat definitely can come down in volume. I was also thinking it could be shortened up a little bit there. I'll make sure, am I working on the hi-hat here? And total steps for the hi-hat. Yeah, we can make it a little slower also. So let's drop an echo in there and get some of that noise, some of that sweet echo noise. I guess the beat has taken on a bit more of a textural quality at this point. I almost sound like someone playing the piano in the background there. It's pretty funky. Well, that's kind of interesting. It's kind of a crazy amount of bass, but so with this kick, we could throw in some probability. And I think I'm going to unmap this chance here so, you know, it can be operated on a bit more of a individual level. The hi-hat is more of a shaker now, I suppose. And we can tune this kick also. Let's just toss a tremolo on there to give it a bit of the snare, a bit of another layer of sort of cutting it off. Awesome. So let's put a multiband on here. I want to try to do a sidechain from just the base of this layer actually. Yeah, so I guess pre-effects, or let's just do kick post mixer. And we should hopefully be able to see. Maybe it will be yeah, I'll push. And maybe we need to just, oh yeah. You can get some really strange, succulent type of sounds. Also, we have this boosted. That is also doing something there. Let's play with this. And let's get a bit of a parallel going there. Yeah, this is a bit crazy. Let's put a limiter on there. I don't even know if this is... really the kind of sound that we need. Let's put a wet and dry on this auto effect. I think I might be done tweaking around on this. Cool. I'm sure if we use the looper effect, we will get ourselves a groove going. Just a matter of recording the right time. Let's see, quantization, we'll definitely do a bar on that. There's one groove anyway. Not sure if it's really what we would... So you can always just, if you want to get a bunch of takes with the looper until you get the right one, you can just duplicate that, clear this one out, and yeah, let's let it rip. I guess I should switch this back to always, or could even try a version that has both the looper playing and the original. So only overdub and recording, yeah. Yeah, we'll try it again. Yeah, that's the party right there. Crazy two-step version. Sometimes with the looper, it can take a little while to get the right take That's kind of an interesting thing happening in there. Yeah, maybe we'll just stick with the generative version for now. And maybe we could just do a bit of both. Let's try this one octave down. Oftentimes that's it can be a nice combination with a so let's pull the reverb out here and then add another echo here. And I'll just take the time down and the feedback down. And 100% wet will give us, or at least we won't hear this little tiny echo that way. We do get a millisecond of delay here, but whatever. It's really not noticeable in my opinion. Yeah, I suppose we could just use this reverb also. What about reversed? Cool. I think we're just about done here. It's endless amounts to explore, that is for sure. Cool. Well, it's kind of an interesting little piece we got going on here. I've heard worse. I do like the island vibes. It's very transporting in this time when traveling isn't really too much of an option. Now, just one last little silly tweak. Just get some tremolo going there so we don't have the most, you know, steady sounding thing. Cool. All right. Well, mission accomplished. Almost close to our, speaking of missions, our goal of 50 sketches. Wow. Who knows where we'll go after that? Maybe I'll just quit, you know? Just like I did it all. Did all the musicking I can possibly do. All the ideas. Now, there's still so much to play around with and explore. I mean, who knows? I've got so many ideas. And then so many ideas just pop up along the way. It's great. It's a lot of fun. I've learned so much so far doing this 49 times. A lot of cool tools I'll be using in my own stuff, hopefully. Definitely be using these in future sketches. I just feel like the possibilities with all these different combinations of these, it's endless. Endless. As long as we keep the pressure levels down and the stress down, I think we can have fun and just keep doing this forever. All right, well, I'm just gonna let this play out and then call it. Mm-hmm.